you want to say something that you don't want people to hear, but if your boss sacks you or something, then that's cool. Just let me know.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have any news bulletin or something, so I can start with my presentation?
Sorry?
You don't have any news bulletin or something to start with? I can start with the presentation now?
No, I'm going to do the news bulletin first.
Okay, fine.
I'll let you start. Yeah, so you've probably got about 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, it's fine. No problem.
Cool.
All right,
cool.
Good luck.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen, then go through the presentation. So give me 1 second. Share content, and then I'm going to browse my computer, and then dirt. Okay. Nice. Okay. Here we go. This is going to work. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
You can see? Yep. Okay, cool. So welcome everyone to the November edition of the UK Azure Virtual Desktop User Group. Very, very exciting evening planned tonight. Lots of good information to share, lots of good content. So let's get going. Right. Okay. So the agenda of tonight. So you'll probably notice a new face, which I will share some information for in a minute. But we're going to do the introduction, which you're listening to now. We're going to do some news, and then we're hopefully we may have to swap things around a bit because Christiaan is here, I believe. Are you here, Christiaan?
Hi, folks. Good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. All good here. So happy to be here and present in probably next 10 minutes. So stay tuned.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, we've got Christiaan Brinkhoff with us, who most of you know. He's going to talk about what's next in end-user computing and Windows 365 Cloud PC. And then we've got Sander Rozemuller, who's going to talk us all through about using AVD and Terraform Cloud, which is a really, really interesting subject. And at the end, we've got some Q&A as well. So I'll fly through the introductions and stuff. Appreciate people have got stuff to do. So my name's Neil McLaughlin. I'm the I've been doing this user group for a while now. I've been around IT for over 20 years. I currently work for Nerdio as the UK field CTO, co-founder of the AVD community, and also this as well. I'm also a Microsoft MVP. And if you want to speak to me, you can find me on Virtual Mank on Twitter or on my website or on LinkedIn as well. Okay, and so I'd like to announce someone new to our team. So this is Shabazz Dar. So I've known Shabazz for a while now because Shabazz was actually on one of the original user group events.
Oh, dat is oneens.
If you're on mute, please. Thank you. Shabazz, I've watched Shabazz's journey and it's been absolutely mind-blowing about what he's done in the past sort of 18 months or so. He came on this user group to talk about an AVD project that he'd done for the NHS, if I remember rightly, and that's one of the very first presentations that he'd done. And to see the growth that he's going through, it's just been absolutely phenomenal. So I'm very happy to announce that our new co-host is Shabazz Dar. So Shabazz, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, thank you for that introduction. So my name is Shabazz Dar. Over 15 years in IT, 8 of those working around cloud technology, specifically Microsoft. Currently work for Net Company, based in the UK as a senior infrastructure specialist. So I'm a co-founder of a different user group for Bradford Cloud User Group, which is where I'm from Bradford. And I am now officially a co-administrator of the UK AVD User Group. Again, AVD is very, very close to my heart. And yeah, it was actually the first user group we did, Neil. That was the first one you ever did. I presented at that, and it was a massive honour to be part of that. So yeah, I recently got awarded MVP, Microsoft MVP in Enterprise Mobility back in September. So a bit of a newbie. Again, if you want to contact me, you can get me on my Twitter handle. And also, I've got a blog and a YouTube channel there that you can see, email as well. So yeah, just really, really happy to be part of this. Thank you.
Awesome. Good to have you, Shabazz. So Shabazz is far force in the community. He's also written 2 books recently, which he's It's really good. So if you want to read the book about, I think AZ 104 exam and the
AZ 104 exam that's coming out, just about putting the finishing touches to it. But there's an SC 400 one that's coming out in January, which has been available for pre-order. So following in Christian's footsteps.
Cool. Awesome. Well, keep up the good work, and we're going to do some awesome things together.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
What to expect? So we're going to meet on most of you know this by now, but that's just the outline about what happens. So we'll meet on the first Thursday of each month. We present the latest AVD news. We use Teams, obviously, which you're on now, and hopefully some physical events, which you're going to hear about in a minute. Okay, Shabaz's got a big smile on his face. So we're currently looking for presenters. We always look for presenters. So if you've got something you want to present on, doesn't have to be long. Can only be 5-10 minutes. 5 to 15 minutes, I don't care. You can up to an hour or whatever you want to do. So if you do want to share a story, something you've been working on or something that you want to know, just let us know. And we have some great news, something we've been talking about for a while now, but it's finally happening. So we're happy to announce that next month we are having a physical event. We've decided to do it in Shabaz's house. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to on Shabaz's house. Shabaz doesn't know about this, by the way. This is the first time he's heard about it. No, I'm only joking. So this is actually in Netcompany head office in Leeds that we're going to be holding our event on the 9th of December between 5 and 9 p.m. There'll be beer, there'll be pizza. So we've picked Leeds because number one, we can get the location easily. Number two, it's quite good for people to get to. It's quite an accessible location. So it'll be interesting to see how many people we get signed up for it or who actually do it. Obviously, we're going to stream it as well. But I can't wait, basically. So really looking forward to that. So we'll be releasing more details probably tomorrow when I actually sign and register event, and we'll send up all the details. So just out of interest, is anyone here today, right now, who will be interested in doing that or attending?
Yeah, I'll be attending.
Okay, good. We've got one person. That's all we need. As long as one person comes, we're happy.
More pizza for everyone.
Yeah, more pizza for everyone. Okay, good. So Slack channel as well, that's still going. We're going to be migrating that over to something different soon, but I'll keep you updated to that. So if you want to join our Slack channel, that's a bit right. I'm going to fly through the news because I know Christian is a very busy man and he's itching to get going. So what's busy this month? So I've actually today officially launched the Virtual Desktop community website. So that's where I posted my newsletter from today. So we've been building it for a while because it's been so busy with work, but that's launched today officially. So we'll be starting to add content over the next few weeks and few months as well. So we're basically branching out a bit. We're going to cover everything involved with sort of DAS. So everything related to DAS. So it's going to be Azure, AVD, MEM, Windows 365, all that stuff. So weekly newsletter is going to continue, but we're also going to have weekly videos. Podcast is coming back. We're going to start kick that off again. Stuff like community of the month, YouTube channels, guest posts, all that fun stuff. So really excited to see where that can go. So been a bit busy over the past few months with personal stuff, but now I've got a lot more free time, which will basically enable us to start writing more content for that. So really looking forward to that. Nerdio news, so I won't be doing a job if I was to tell you about Nerdio. So version 3.3 is about to be released, so we've got some amazing features in there. We've got managed FS logic app masking, so we can create rules within Nerdio and manage them within Nerdio as well. So that's really cool. RAM usage and auto scale trigger, custom RBAC roles, which is everyone's been asking for that, where you can basically assign different groups to different host pools, or just manage sort of the storage, or just manage certain bits within there as well. So really cool stuff. And we've also got collect CPU RAM session data, so we can see over a period of time what sort of CPU RAM session is at any one time and why it did the auto scaling. And also we got updated the AVD agents on the images as well. So when they're deployed, and they pick the very latest agents. So I'm sure you've all had that problem where you mass produce AVD hosts and then it spends a bit of time having to upgrade the agents. So we're hoping to help that by putting the latest ones that we can on the host as well, and much more. So that's about to drop hopefully this week. AVD Tech Fest is coming up, so that's coming up in about 2 weeks' time. You can still sign up for that. So really, really great list. Obviously, we've got some geezer called Christiaan Brinkhoff. Don't know who he's coming on there. Myself, I'm speaking on there as well. People like Yorma, Marius Stambu, Donna Ryan. So really, really great lineup. It's an all-day event. So definitely get signed up for that as well. So lots of great content for that. And Ryan Mangan's got a call for speaker action. So if you want to talk about MS Desktop Attach, please feel free to sign up for his event. So if you want to present as well, so that's going to be full day stuff around MS Desktop Attach. So again, that'll be some really, really good content on that as well. And that's on the 30th of November. And we've got a new MVP award category as well. So Christiaan announced that a few weeks ago. So if you are really, really into your Windows 365, you like sharing community stuff, and you like writing about stuff, go for it. You can sort of become an MVP if you're passionate about it, which I highly, highly recommend. It's a really, really great thing to get involved with. So give that a shot and have a look at that if you want to. So we've got some news from Ignite. Not that much AVD news from Ignite, to be honest with you, but the news that was announced is big. So basically, people have been complaining about obviously the new way of working is hybrid work, right? So no one wants to go fully into the cloud because of the risk that you have, like data security, sovereignty, all that kind of stuff. So we now have Azure Virtual Desktop on-prem with Azure Stack KCI. So if you're not sure what Azure Stack KCI is, it basically enables you to use third-party kit or to use like Azure Stack. So originally you used to get Azure Stack and it was only one bit which you could buy, if I remember, and it was an insane amount of money. But then Microsoft released it to third party. So you've got people like sort of Dell you can buy stuff kit from, and that's sort of honestly part of the registered list. And then you can basically have your own Azure inside your own data center, like a mini Azure. So it ain't cheap, so you need big pockets for it. But if you have a requirement for sort of on-prem Azure Virtual Desktop, we can now do that. So really, really good stuff. And I put a link to some articles there, which you can look at. There's a great video that's produced like Matt Spirit. And also the second link there, if you do a search for Ernie Costa, he's actually done a really, really detailed walkthrough of how he set it up in an environment that he had access to, obviously. So really, really good. So if you want to kick off your AVD project and your boss is at Monia, it's like on-prem only and you've got lots of money, definitely give that a look because really, really exciting to see where that's going to go as well. And also Azure Virtual Desktop auto scaling has gone into public preview. So this basically enables you to sort of do AVD auto scale management via the GUI. So you used to be able to do it via PowerShell scripts. It was a bit tricky to manage. Now we can go into the GUI and manage that as well. So it's I'm going to be honest, it's a bit limited compared to what we do at Nerdio. But for those people who want ease of management and want to do it really easily without having to sort of spend extra money, that's cool. You can do it all within there now. So that's in public preview, so you can go out and try that today. So really, really good stuff there coming in from Microsoft. And yeah, that's it from the end of the news. Has anyone got any comments, questions, or anything like that? Anything we just spoken about? Nope. Oh, good. Right, I will hand you over to Christiaan. So, Christiaan, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, that would make life a lot easier, right? Let's do that. Give me a minute here real quick. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Yep.
Okay, let's get started. So first of all, good evening. Hope you reached beer o'clock or almost are ready to get your beer in your hands and enjoy this session. I have around like 45 to 60 minutes of content prepared for you and included as much as new content around Ignite for you too. So I hope that addresses the asks and as well the questions you have. But if you have any questions along the way, feel free to unmute yourself. It's a small group here. I want to keep it informative and just have some fun as well in the next like 60 minutes or so. So Neil already introduced myself, but let's just give another quick run over. I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff. I'm part of the Windows 365 engineering team. I have been part of the AVD Global Black Belt team as well. And before that, I've been working for Avis Logic. So I've been doing this startup work for a while now. I've been part of several communities too. And I know a little bit what the challenges are in the field as well as in different products that are out there right now. And with Windows 365, we take that extra step in simplifying the way how you can use a remoting technology, which is Cloud PC. So I'm going to explain you everything you need to know about that. But one key element to remember is that we consolidate efforts as well as management requirements to just one pane of glass, which is the Microsoft Endpoint Manager console. And you can do everything from there without any complexity. You just cut out auto scaling and such. With our service, you just pay for a fixed price and you get the availability 24/7. So just kind of examples what the vision is of our product. And it's all to address the new way of working, hybrid remote work, to make that addressable and easy for every user on the planet. VDI has been around. VDI has been addressing 15% of the market and has always been a niche use case because of complexity as well as cost. It's rather expensive. And with this service, we try to solve that problem. We think we succeeded in that with all the interest and as well the customers coming into the platform, as well as the innovation that we will bring into Windows, because Windows 365, that name, that branding is pretty powerful, and you will see more innovation inside Windows happening as well as part of consolidation of a virtual environment, which is Cloud PC, as well as a physical PC. So hope that makes you excited. Let's get started. I just want to inspire you a little bit on the excitement around this product, as well as the excitement within Microsoft, meaning that Microsoft enters in the virtualization space from a leadership perspective. So if you think back before Satya joined Microsoft with Steve Ballmer, and even before that, Bill Gates, virtualization wasn't that popular within Microsoft. Windows was best on a physical PC. That completely changed. Satya thinks in a different mindset, as you know, probably from other conversations with Microsoft employees or just while experiencing other products, how we do innovation there. Cloud PC is being like carried and being promoted by Satya in leadership, and that is like amazing. And that means as well that other products in Microsoft will consolidate and will come together within the solution. As I said, future improvements within Windows might come, and some other new excitement stuff that I cannot talk about will come perhaps too as well. So this is the keynote.
We're continuing.
Oh, let me do this once more. This is the keynote session of Satya announcing Windows 365 Cloud PC. I just want to start out real quick, just to give you some impression on the excitement as well as what the product is and how it is announced at Microsoft Inspire at the 14th of July this year.
Today, we are continuing this journey and creating a new category with Windows, the Cloud PC. I'm excited to announce Windows 365. With Windows 365, we are making Windows available not just on Windows devices, but any device, harnessing the power of the cloud. This has never been done before. And think about it, just like applications were brought to the cloud with SaaS, we are now bringing the operating system to the cloud with Windows 365. With Windows 365, the operating system itself becomes hybrid, accessible on the device as well as the cloud. With just a few clicks, you can set up your Cloud PC and stream the full Windows experience from the Microsoft Cloud to a personal or a corporate device.
So just stop there and just emphasize a little bit about the excitement in the company. We're just at the beginning stage. So what you have been seeing on Ignite and before that is just a starting point where we are right now. And all the excitement on the leadership side will only help even more to drive innovation into Windows to bring Windows 365 to every customer. I already made the comparison with VDI, but think about like using a virtualized environment, like a virtual desktop environment, for a small business for a very affordable price without the complexity of a virtual desktop environment. There are pieces in the market that haven't been addressed by other vendors, and that's where we see huge traction right now. And the enterprises are catching up right now too on ramping up for Windows 365. So just some background here. So I've been part of the team for, I think, 13 months now. And I just moved to Redmond as well, to the US as part of this role 4 months ago. And before that, I did it remotely, and I still do it remotely, but now I'm actually physically closer to where the product team is. And we have been building this product in roughly 1.5 to 2 years, like let's say 1.5 years when the real creation coding work started. So that innovation happened pretty fast, and as well remotely too. And this is just a screenshot of some of my team members creating this product while they work from home. So we are preaching the prayer here. Like we created a product that enables customers and users to work remotely. We built that product remotely as well. So it's really, the example that remote working is here to stay, and it will change how we work as well in the upcoming months, as well as in the upcoming years and the ongoing years after that too. So I already explained a little bit about what is Windows 365, and I showed the Satya video, but one thing that resonates in your head, because it pretty much resonates as well in AVD and in Citrix and VMware, is that Windows runs on any device, meaning that you can run it on an Android, on an iOS, iPad, tablet, phone, Windows laptop or desktop computer. It doesn't matter. We even support Linux. So if you have a Linux partner, or you have just a web browser on your Linux device, you can access a Windows 365 Cloud PC from there, running Windows 10 and Windows 11. And inside Windows 11, you align with the hardware flow requirements. So regardless from any endpoint device, you can connect to Windows 365 Cloud PC. So it's a very efficient way of doing that, and an easy way too. So all the complexity in testing a virtual machine in Azure, and knowing that the performance is well, and get the right SKU lined up and things like that, that's all like work that we do behind the back for a customer, and that virtual machine runs in a Microsoft managed environment, and all that like provisioning and automation work is happening by Microsoft as well. And if you use the enterprise product, you use Microsoft Endpoint Manager for the configuration flow, for the IT admin flow. If you use the business configuration flow, you only have to go to admin.microsoft.com, assign a license, and then your Cloud PC is ready for you. So I have all kinds of demos lined up for you, so you can experience and get like sort of empowered as well on the experience around that and the simplicity later on. So it's not only talking and make it look good, I will show proof of that so you can experience it yourself. I didn't join this team just to join Microsoft Engineering. I joined this team because I believe in the vision as well, the challenges we solve with this product. So what is Windows 365? Just a quick official run over. So I level set everybody here on this call, is because it's a virtualization technology and it runs in the cloud, you leverage the scalability and the simplicity of the cloud, and therefore the session in the cloud too. So if you switch between your corporate physical office and you go to your home office, you can just disconnect and continue where you left off, and your content, whether you're using OneDrive or any other solution, will sync with you. So we use syncing technology, which we use engine of Edge, enterprise state roaming, as well as OneDrive that gives you an out-of-the-box experience from a physical PC estate as well as in your cloud PC. So it will look very familiar. We have 5 different compute options in terms of vCPU and RAM, and more operating system disk size choices right now that you can choose as a cloud PC. Let's say virtual hardware layer to like extend the performance of your cloud PC. And we are currently adding in the internal environment GPU SKUs. That will be shipped soon once we have the licensing structure ready to make it as compelling as possible for you as an end user and a customer too. Same for consistent settings across devices. I said enterprise state roaming and such are auto-enabled. So if you enable that inside your tenant, have that enabled, then it roams through your different cloud PCs as well as your physical PC. If you re-provision your cloud PC, everything comes back to where it was. So very efficient and easy. Your apps, if you use Intune, Microsoft Endpoint Manager, to distribute your apps, we completely support that. So you can just add like your cloud PC users into an app, and then the app will auto-enroll to your cloud PC. So it's a full end-to-end solution for app delivery, as well as provisioning of your cloud PC, as well as your configuration profiles, as well as your security baselines. It's the full suite, the full package that you can use as part of the Microsoft Endpoint Manager console. And that's what I said. We marry IT, admins, physical PCs, as well as virtualized environments. Previously, or still today, VDI and physical PCs have been different teams. This solution, we try to marry those two teams with each other, providing the simplicity of one single solution moving forward. Scalable storage, because you can scale up and down with compute. You can change your compute. You can resize your cloud PC. If you need more resources, you can do that, spin it down. You get the resource. The cloud PC automatically spins up. And if you want to go back and reassign the license to somebody else, you can easily do that. So that's all supported inside the Microsoft Endpoint Manager console. And the other great thing, if you heard me saying, like, we marry the physical and the cloud PC, the virtualized environment with each other. It's the same with identity and security management. So everything just works the same as you do for a physical PC. So conditional access, MFA, Defender for Endpoint, all those Microsoft Endpoint Manager services and Microsoft 365 apps are working as is. And inside the images that we provide as part of Windows 365, we auto-enable Microsoft 365 apps, Teams optimizations, OneDrive, everything auto-enables and logs on, single sign-on. So it's a very easy way to ramp up, get productive if you want to spin up more cloud PCs, for example, for a different region, or you did an acquisition and things like that. So, and because we're using a remoting technology, we stream the data layer over a protocol, which is RDP, and therefore no data left behind. So it's just like similar benefit as the 3DI technology for like highly securely regulated offices or governments and such, that you log off and no data footprint left behind on the endpoint.
So we've got a question.
Yeah.
So the question was, please clarify. Oh, let me get the question up. The consistency.
Let's see, which question is that from Wu?
Hey, I can. Yeah, if you just go.
Maybe
back.
unmute yourself. It's probably faster.
Yeah, if you go back one slide, Christian, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, this slide.
Yes, Christian, that point around consistent settings. Can you just clarify that point, please? So if we're looking at the enterprise SKU, for example, and if a user were given 2 enterprise virtual desktops or Windows Cloud PCs, how does that relate to that point around consistent settings?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as I explained, there are a couple of things that we auto-enable inside the Cloud PC. One of the things is OneDrive, Edge Sync settings is one of them, and enterprise state roaming is the other one, meaning that if you enable enterprise state roaming in your tenant, which a lot of customers have, the settings in your Cloud PC will come from like the physical PC that you use in your environment. So like templates, themes, Windows settings, and things like that will auto-enable after the user logs on for the first time.
Yeah. Okay, understood. So we're not talking about the user's, we're talking about elements of the user's profile in essence.
Correct.
But we're not talking about the entire profile.
So yes and no. So we use OneDrive, known folder move, which captures parts of the profile indeed. And the application data piece of the profile is not captured and not roaming from the outside if you provision a new cloud PC. Or if you are in your cloud PC, you're the owner of that cloud PC, so everything is persistent. So if you log off and back on, you're not coming on a shared environment or a pooled environment or something like that. So you remain those settings inside that cloud PC. If you have two cloud PCs and you use OneDrive and enterprise state roaming, all the settings that I just called out will come on that like other cloud PC as well, in the same way as it comes to the primary cloud PC.
Great. Okay, thank you for that. I think that's a great point that I've not had a chance to pick up earlier. Thank you.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions. Like if you think in the VDI space, you think about like profile solutions such as Apple's Logics. I've been part of that team, so I know a lot about that product. But the question is, why do you use it like a technology like that? And the main reason for that is because you use a multi-session operating system. Because when you log off and back on, you come on a different machine and you want to like persist that profile separately from the VM. If that problem not exists anymore, because you are the owner of a VDI, the virtual desktop is your PC. Why should you then care? Like on your physical PC, you're not using FS Logics either. So that's kind of the challenge and the simplicity we bring into this service. So you have to rethink about how you do the management. It's different from how VDI worked in the past, but it's not a requirement. We don't have to really roam that in this solution because it already captured this in a persistent manner inside the cloud PC.
Yep, good explanation. Yep, understood. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Let me go ahead and address some questions along the way because I have a lot of content to share, and I think most of the questions will be addressed in those slides too. Real quick, we have two product versions. I'm not going to explain them very deeply. I will show them to you in the next slides. We have a Windows 365 business product and a Windows 365 enterprise product. Business is best to remember 1 to 300 users. So if you're a freelancer, you can even use Windows 365 Business. It's like a one-click provisioning experience, meaning that you can just purchase a license in the admin.microsoft.com portal and then purchase a business license assigned to a user. And at that moment, the cloud PC starts to provision. It's all Azure AD native, so you don't have to bring in an Azure, an Active Directory domain controller that is hybrid Azure AD domain joined for the business product. For enterprise, we still require that today. However, we just announced Azure AD native support, which I'm going to explain later on as well. But just stick to the business product real quick. All the clients work exactly the same as for enterprise. So all endpoints, all operating systems are supported as explained earlier. And the other important thing to remember is that this product works via CSP models too. So if you're a partner, you can benefit out of this product too in reselling Windows 365 Business. So that's the business product. And as I said, I will park this for now and explain you how it works in the demo experience later on. Then we have the Windows 365 Enterprise product, and that's more the like enterprise-grade feature-rich experience that I just explained that works via Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So you have the same management plane, the same capabilities, the same Microsoft 365 applications that you can use and consolidate inside your cloud PC, all from one unified management console, which is the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center portal. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with that, but I will show you some demos so you get sort of a glimpse of how that works. And Andrew pointed something out in the chat. Thank you again for that. If you are very keen to learn more about that and dive deeper into that, I just wrote a book with Pearl Larson, which is another Microsoft FDE. And in that book, we explain everything like level 3, 4, 500 content on how to enroll Windows 365 Cloud PC, but as well how to just use MEM for your physical PC. So it touches on physical and Cloud PC and brings everything basically together in terms of the knowledge you need to do this. And I was on that same kind of experience myself too. I knew about Microsoft Endpoint Manager, but I wanted to dive super deep into the content because I'm like a person, I want to know everything before I start talking about something. And that's one of the triggers why I created that book. The other trigger was it was COVID, and I wanted to create something positive out of COVID. And that was the moment I thought, like, let's start writing a book. So those purposes has been like I've of writing this book, and yeah, the interest and the community attention has been enormous. I can share that we sold over 1,100 books already, which is amazing and exceeded all kinds of expectations, to be honest, in my most humble expectations. So let's just move forward here. So the Enterprise Edition works for AMM, as I said. It's all fixed price per month costing. We are taking through different licensing models right now as well. So we heard as well people asking for, what about hourly or daily based licensing rates? Like, did you only pay for an hour or for a day? So we are looking into that right now. So might come something, there might come something on that in the future too. You can leverage your existing enterprise agreements and things like that can give you a discount. So I'm not talking about that. I'm not a licensing expert, but just know about it. Those benefits exist too. And everything looks and feels familiar, as I said, to how you manage your physical PC. And it supports hybrid Azure AD and native Azure AD as well in a preview right now. You can sign up for that, and very soon as well in a GA state. So what about Windows 11? Before I jump into some demos, Windows 11 has been announced during October. I've been driving the Windows 11 implementation work as part of the engineering team. And the great thing to remember is that we support Windows 11. That's one. The other thing is that we support it fully with the hardware floor alignment as part of the new changes with the cores, as well as the VTPM requirement, UEFI boot, and secure boot. So all those features are auto-enabled inside your cloud PC, and that's a game-changing service because it's fixed price, it's simple, and it brings all the hardware floor requirements together, which no other service in market currently can do in that like service perspective, so to say. Then we have like custom images, or let's say specific images, not custom images. We created images for Windows 11 that includes Microsoft 365 apps and all those like optimizations for Teams and like single sign-on for OneDrive, as well as optimizations to run Windows better on a physical, on a virtual next to a physical device. That's all prepared and will be updated automatically every month. So that simplifies as well how you do your image management. We accept as well custom images if you want to, so you can bring them in, put all your images, the agents inside the images, applications and such. But we recommend to use Intune and layer your applications on top and just use our images, so you have always the latest and greatest updates as part of that specific image every month. Security baselines work for Windows 11 and Windows 10. We have that, so you just have to click on it and your cloud PC is as secure as possible. And the logon experience is improved too, to align with Windows 10, 11, as well as how Windows works in general. So I will explain you how that works in some demos. So just before I jump in the demo, these are the licensing options that we have and have to offer for you. As I said earlier, enterprise and business are, from a license perspective, pretty much the same. We have the same options there. Only the experience is that with business, you just have to sign a license, then you're good to go. With enterprise, you need to configure a couple of more settings, like an on-premise network connection to connect to your backend, and then you're almost good to go. And I don't go over them all together, so you can go to aka.ms/CPC sizing. And if you go to that page, you will find every information you need, as well as the platforms and the endpoints we support. So this is a great slide because this summarizes what we just announced this week during Microsoft Ignite. So I'm going to explain them during a demo. So I have extensive demos on every item here for you to show. So one of the things to remember before I do that is we improved the web client experience. So we made it a native experience with more capabilities. We introduced Azure AD native support. Windows 365 Business received more IT admin capabilities, so you can now switch between admin or standard user, or you can select between the operating system you want, and more of those options that you can choose for as an IT admin will come along pretty soon too. And as I explained in the previous slide, Windows 11 support is now baked into the service and ready for you to kick the tires. So just one more thing, if you have any feedback for us, you can go to ak.ms/Windows W365 feedback, and then you can vote on existing feedback items or just request a new feature, because we are very eager to learn from you. If you don't see a good fit right now, we want to make it fit for you. So let us know what your feedback is in terms of the features that we want to or need to add. So a couple of other things that are coming pretty soon is new options for SKUs. So GPU SKUs are underway. We are working on GovCloud support, so that's coming as well. So Azure D Native, already explained, is currently in a preview available and coming soon to you in GA. So we are working on making snapshotting of Cloud PCs possible as well, meaning that snapshot and restore to a previous state if you want to do that, or want to reprovision and then restore and things like that. That's coming pretty soon too, just to have that flexibility. If you have to restore from a previous state, you can easily do that. That brings back a little bit that profile management discussion. So with that, we hope to address the need for restoring your full application state too. More monitoring and reporting options. So one great thing to remember is that Windows 365 Enterprise includes monitoring and everything, so no additional costs for any additional monitoring solutions and such. It's a full end-to-end solution stack that you get for the fixed price, plus an Intune license that you have to use for Windows 365 Cloud PC, and then the Enterprise product in specific for business, we don't require any Intune licenses. And on the management layer, we add like more and more capability. For example, RBAC. So we already have RBAC roles in MEM to delegate access for administrators and reader access for Cloud PC components like a provisioning policy and an on-prem network connection and things like that. And we will add more and more along the way. And other things we are currently working on is BitLocker support, disk encryption, and as well, what I said, point-in-time restore. So just a quick run over and a sneak peek on where we go to in the next couple of months. So right now, I'm happy to jump over to the demo experience. I explained a lot of stuff, and I'm more like a tech-savvy person, so I like to explain how it works. So luckily, we entered that phase of this presentation right now. So here's a demo on how the configuration works for Windows 365 Business. As I said, it's the most simple experience for an IT admin to get productive as an end user. So first you go to the purchase flow. So you go to the purchasing licensing flow. I skipped that as part of this demo. So you just go into billing, purchase services, and then purchase Windows 365 Business. Once you did that, and it's pretty much the same as Office 365 licenses, so it's pretty easy. Once you did that, you assign that license to a user, in this specific John Monday. So he gets a business Cloud PC 2-core machine. And here I'm logging on as that specific end user because I'm now ready to do so. And here I get a prompt once I'm logging on. And the logon URL is windows365.microsoft.com. You get a wizard experience to get up to speed. And once you're ready with that, you'll see another kind of run wizard, what all the options in this portal mean and where the buttons are. And you see that the Cloud PC is now being provisioned. This takes around 15 to 30 minutes on an average. And then you're done. And then you, as an admin, as an IT admin or an end user, you are able to log on to that specific Cloud PC. So if you click on you can restart or reset or troubleshoot all kinds of capabilities you can do as an end user yourself, just to release the IT help desk and self-service team for all kinds of stupid questions that they don't want to be bothered about, like rebooting the Cloud PC, for example, if you are in a state that you can easily solve yourself. which for the physical PC you would do as well, just reboot your machine. Things like that are all incorporated. You can download the clients here as well. And once you're done, you can open the session. So click on open in browser, log on, and then you log on to your cloud PC. This is the web browser experience, but as you saw, we support every client, every endpoint as well. And Linux is supported too. And we are working on Linux initiatives to improve as well. You just saw perhaps that we can manage Linux endpoints right now too within MEM. So more exciting stuff around that is coming as well. So this is just like an end user demo, how the session works. So it's pretty common, but I just want the simplicity of this product to you. So another great thing that we announced is the Windows 365 Business IT admin improvements. So this is a new view of the portal. So this is how it will look very soon. And what you can see here in this portal is that your organization's cloud PC and your cloud PCs is now being added as an option in the portal. And what does that mean? You can now define an IT admin and an end user as a role in the business solution. Meaning that if you go to your organization's cloud PC, you can see that you can choose between, hey, I want to make my user standard user or or a local admin, not IT admin. You can create a user in here as well. So for example, if you're an IT admin, you can click on add user and then add a user that's an Azure AD native only user. And then you can make that user a standard or a local administrator. Choose which operating system that user wants to have as part of their cloud PC, and then assign that license, and then you're good to go. Then the cloud PC is ready in like 30 minutes, and then they can log on. And this is a run over of the user creation flow and the license assignment flow. So very simple, very easy, and for small medium businesses, this is great. This is like what they always have been looking for, but was not affordable, was too costly, was too complex for small businesses. And this is like simplicity of enabling an Office 365 Exchange Online environment, for example, for remoting, for a desktop virtualization environment, for example. So here's as well the option to restart, reset. You can reset the cloud PC as an IT admin as well as an end user. So IT admin has as well the capabilities to do this on behalf of the end user from here. So that's a quick explanation on the business product. So I'm now excited to talk about the enterprise product, which is more like 300 to 10,000, 20,000 seats, which is more enterprise grade and addressing all the needs for most of the use cases that are happening and active right now. So this is how you can deploy Windows 365 Enterprise with Azure AD native, meaning you don't have to bring in an on-premise domain controller or Azure subscription or like the things that you had to do with Windows 365 Enterprise during launch and currently still have to do in GA will be solved in the upcoming weeks/months to implement just the solution without the requirement for domain controller. So here you create a provisioning policy, and that would be your starting point for native Azure AD after you purchase the licenses. So here you give it a name, and here you select Azure AD join. You can still pick hybrid. So if you use hybrid because your business is not ready for Azure AD, you can still do that. But most likely you go directly for Azure AD join. Here you can select whether you want to connect to on-prem for your backend services like your application services, databases, things like that. You can choose as well a Microsoft hosted network. So we create the Cloud PC in a Microsoft managed environment, and we can as well manage the network components for you. So you just select this, and then you select a location, and then the Cloud PC is being created in that location, in a network, in an environment that Microsoft managed completely for you. So here you select whether you want to go for a custom image or a gallery image. So you can create your own images if you want to based on Windows 10 or Windows 11. But as I said, we recommend to use one of the prepared images that we created as part of the engineering team that will be updated every month. So for example, Windows 11 Enterprise with Microsoft 365 apps pre-installed. that includes Office, Teams, OneDrive, Edge, and some other very comprehensive optimizations to give you a better user experience, for example. So here you select the Azure AD group. And one thing to keep in mind is that Azure AD group, the user that is in there needs to have a license. And after that, you're done. You can directly start the provisioning of that cloud PC. And as I said, in like 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how many cloud PCs you, of course, have in that batch, the cloud PC is being created. And then you can just start kicking the tires and logging onto that cloud PC environment. So let me park here for a second. Are there any questions for me real quick?
Just a quick one, Christian. On that drop down, when you showed the regions, I could see Asia. Now it's interesting that AVD doesn't allow deployment into Asia at the moment, but Cloud PC does. Are there any regions that aren't supported for Cloud PC?
Yeah, so I think somebody pushed
just
the regions in the chat.
Window. Yeah, just done it.
Yeah, so that are the regions that are supported today. So I'm the PM responsible for the regions as well. I cannot share everything on the roadmap, but I can share that we are looking at 5 different regions to add in the next month or so. So if you have any regions that is not part of this list, let me know, and I will consider adding it. It's a pretty easy process for us. We just want to do it based on demand, as well as where we think the most interest is in this service in this specific region. So let me know if you have any regions that need to be added. But these are specifically the regions that are currently supported.
Well, sorry, Christian, was UK on there at all? I didn't see.
Yeah, UK is on there. So UK South is supported.
Cool. Thank you.
So let me go ahead real quick. So one thing that I would like to show as well is how Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So like, as I said, like Windows 365 Cloud PC Enterprise is like a full end-to-end solution, which includes like policy management, application delivery, monitoring, and things like that. And this is a great example of how you can deliver an application to an endpoint, which is Cloud PC in this specific. So I have my Notepad++ application here. It's a great app. It's free. It's a lot. I'm using it too. Here you see, like, I can just add my Cloud PC users to my existing application that I use for my physical PC. I just add a group that includes that user, and then this application will be distributed to that Cloud PC, either during start, if it's a device-based group, if it's a user-based group, it happens during the first logon phase. So pretty simple, and you don't have to do some complexity or add a new solution on the side. Like, for example, application virtualization is supported too. So we support MSIX, just an MSI, an executable, even AppV supported. It doesn't really matter. You can just pull it in and it will be distributed to your endpoints. And the other great thing is that you can upload your applications in Intune in Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So you can just upload the application via the web console. So you don't have to deal with like file shares or things like that. It's all happening on the back, and you only have to browse, upload, assign, and then you're good to go. So it's a pretty easy process to perform. And that brings me up to the monitoring part. So endpoint analytics is, as I said, I said monitoring is completely supported out of the box, and endpoint analytics is the solution we use for that in the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center solution. And if you go to reports in the menu on the left, you go into the endpoint analytics menu, and here you see sort of an overview of the performance in your environment for all cloud PCs as well as physical PCs, like combined. But you can double click on the different items here and zoom into what is going on in my environment. And we created different metrics as well as telemetry data points that are specific for cloud PCs. Think about latency and specific performance elements as well as recommendations. So here you see different cloud PCs. If you click on that, you see the history of how your CPU performs, your RAM performance, you can find here. And the other great thing is you get a baseline score. So if it's low, like below 70 or something, there's something going on in your environment and you need to troubleshoot. And this gives you the insights on, hey, what's your logon speed, like your logon duration, and why is your logon duration perhaps slow? And the other great thing, it combines the physical PC boot history as well with the logon duration in the cloud PC, so you can see what is like the overall logon experience as well as the physical boot experience of your PC. You could see the round trip time, so the latency to the control plane service we connect to, and you see as well the metrics between the other cloud PC users. So you can see, hey, why is the latency here so low or so high? Is a user traveling or something like that? And if so, you might want to provision a cloud PC in a different region for that specific user. And this is another dashboard view where you can see all cloud PCs under each other with the performance metrics. And the other great thing here is it gives you recommendations on, hey, this cloud PC is not performing well. We see a baseline score of 35 over 100. You might want to resize this cloud PC. And then you can click on resize, and then it goes automatically to the device. And if you then click on the resize option, you can assign a license that is higher, like for example, 1 core to 2 core or 2 core to 4 core. And if you do that, it automatically reboots the cloud PC and it assigns the license, the higher license to it. And then you're good to go. The user can then be productive again and has the higher resource. So for example, if you use it just for a week because you fill in for a colleague, you can just assign a higher license. Once you're done with that, you give it back and then you're good to go. So it's a very flexible model to align with the needs for an end user to be productive, so to say, all happening via the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center console. So one thing I would like to explain to you, like it could be that you currently already use Cloud PC and you want to provision Windows 11 as part of your Cloud PC. So we injected a new dashboard in Endpoint Analytics called Work From Anywhere. And in there, you can see whether your Cloud PCs or your physical PCs are ready to upgrade to Windows 11. So you see the TPM and system firmware indicator, and that's the main driver behind why your Cloud PC is or not is capable to upgrade to Windows 11. So here you see that all my Cloud PCs are capable to upgrade to Windows 11 as part of the Windows 11 readiness status, but it could be that you either already upgraded or you are not capable because we implemented a feature as part of our service called Trusted Launch, like almost a month ago, and all the Cloud PCs that were provisioned before that moment were based on Gen 1 and not Trusted Launch. So if your Cloud PC is provisioned before the 28th of September, you need to re-provision your Cloud PC to become aligned and compatible for the Windows 11 readiness phase. And then it will show up here as capable. If not, then it will show up as not capable, and then the TPM and system firmware would be the main reason of that. TPM, of course, because of the chip. System firmware means UEFI boot was not supported because Gen 1 works based on MBR instead of UEFI boot, as you might know. So most customers are currently kicking the tires, or later this year, so they are immediately ready to do that. And the change on this happens as well based on Windows 10. So that means that if you're on Windows 10 as part of Cloud PC, you can do an in-place upgrade to Windows 11 easily as well. And if you're deciding to start with Windows 10 and you want to be ready for Windows 11 later on, you can easily do that. Start with Windows 10, and then later on, just go in the MEM portal in the Microsoft Admin Center, Endpoint Manager Admin Center portal, go to feature updates for Windows 10 and later. And here you can do an in-place upgrade. So you assign a deployment profile to a Cloud PC, you pick Windows 11 in here, and then you assign that to your Cloud PCs. And that's what you do. After that, the Cloud PC receives the update and gets prompted. The user gets prompted for, hey, Windows 11 is ready for you. When do you want to upgrade? And then the rest is all happening automatically. And the changes in the portal, the end user portal, will happen as well. So the card, for example, that you see in the portal, the web portal, will show Windows 11 as well. One thing we support too is custom images. As I said, we don't recommend it because with Intune, with MEM, you can layer on applications and everything separately from the image. So if you reprovision your Cloud PC, you sort of easy the process to make it more layered in terms of the approach instead of having that golden massive image that is hard to troubleshoot. But if you want to, because you currently have and you want to use that existing image that you use for any other solution inside Cloud PC, you can do that too. So you can create a virtual machine. This is just like creating a new image, but you can as well upload existing images from on-prem via Hyper-V to Azure and then use it as a custom image if you want to. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that you create it as a Gen 2 image. That's the only requirement we have for the TPM enablement feature. So if you create a new VM for an image, you just select one of the images that we have via the offer called Windows 365 Enterprise Cloud PC. And in there, you just select Windows 11 or Windows 10 based on Gen 2. You create a VM. And after you install all your applications and agents in there, you can capture it. And once you capture that, after you sysprep that image, it's a pretty generic process. It's just the same as for other solutions such as AVD. The only difference is that once you sysprepped it and you captured the image, it will show up here as a device image option. So if you go to add images as a device image in Windows 365, you can select the source image. And at that moment, once you do this, it will show up inside the provisioning policy option that I just explained to you. So you can then go to custom image and then select the image that you just added into your tenant. And here's just a call out that Gen 2 is the only image VM type version that we currently support. So if you have Gen 1, you need to update that to Gen 2. There's documentation for that on our documentation page if you want to learn more about that. But most likely you can just start directly with Gen 2. So one thing that is excited as well is the Windows 365 web client improvements. So one thing we did is the web client experience. So you've been seeing in some user demos on business that we leverage the remote desktop web client that AVD is using too. With this new client experience, we bring the native UX experience from Windows 365 into the web experience. So you see on the right side that new experience that will be implemented very soon, and you can sign up for it already if you're interested. So this is the difference between that experience. And I will show you in the next slide how that looks from a demo perspective. But one of the key improvements are faster load times. So if you click on the Cloud PC, it's almost a second when you are in the Cloud PC. So it's really fast. The same for keyboard settings and changing your redirection settings and such. You can do it beforehand, but you can do it inside the session too. So that's a new feature that we implemented. And due to the changes in keyboard and as well on top of keyboard layouts, you can make accessibility changes for when you need that for like other languages and such. We improved that too. And the other great thing is that you can bookmark Cloud PCs, so you can favorite your Cloud PCs in the portal experience. So this is a quick demo how that works. So here I'm logging on. You see the web portal. You see Windows 11 as a card, as a Cloud PC provisioned for me. And if I open this in a browser, you see the new experience, the logo, the redirection options, as well as the additional options that we implemented. So settings, think about keyboard layout and such, all the kind of settings that we implemented to make this portal more accessible for any user on the planet. So here you can change that, the different keyboard layouts proactively before entering the session, and you can save those settings as well in your browser. So once you click on connect, you re-authenticate once more. We'll move into single sign-on. We will add that to the offering, of course, too, with Azure AD native support. So once you're in, you see that the fast speed of being productive is happening right now. So it's just like in a snap, you can log on to your Cloud PC. And the bar that you see on top of it is new as well. So you see the logo, the name of the Cloud PC environment. You can as well see who's logging on. You can open the gear. You can see some setting interaction metrics on the performance, as well as you can change the redirection settings. You can see some tips and tricks on the keyboard shortcuts, and you can make it full screen. So you can make it full screen. You can remove the bar on top as well. So it looks like you are working locally, but you're actually working with a web client. So you don't have to install any client on the endpoint. So all kinds of simplicity and improvements on the UX that are coming very soon to the Windows 365 Cloud PC product. And if you click on the left button there, then you go back to the portal in the web browser, so in the Windows 365.microsoft.com portal. The other great thing that you can do with Windows 365 is just use Azure AD My Apps, or just switch between Office in the left menu to Windows 365. So we are completely consolidated in that end user experience. So other clients we support is, of course, MacBook. So this is the MacBook client we have, where you can log on to Windows 365 Cloud PC. So I'm going over really quick over these demos because I want to keep some time for the other speaker as well to explain his presentation. This is the iPad experience, so pretty like familiar within the AVD space. It looks pretty much the same. And another great thing is that the Surface Duo supports connecting to Windows 365 Cloud PC too. So this is a session I did during Microsoft Ignite on the mainstream channel, where I explained how you can connect to Windows 365 Cloud PC from a Surface Duo 2. So that works all out of the box as well and is supported. And one other thing before I wrap up is the Microsoft 365 Lighthouse integration that we are working on. So if you are a partner, for example, and you are looking at the benefits of the CSP model, which are called out, which gives you a licensing benefit, we also work on a multi-tenant experience, so you can manage multiple.
Welcome to a demo of.
Let me turn off the audio real quick here, because I think I turned on the audio for all of you, and then I'll explain it again. So this is the portal experience that we are building, where you can collect all tenants that you manage as a partner in one single pane of glass, meaning that you can check whether the network connections are configured properly, you can monitor them, you can see all the cloud PCs, you can provision cloud PCs, all kinds of maintenance exactly for a customer that you need to maintain and manage as a partner from one single pane of glass is something we are working on, and it's coming soon as well to the service offering. Just as part of the offering, no additional license and such are needed for that. So just a call to action before I wrap up fully and officially. Here are a couple of links that are good to know. So of course, the book in the chat is something you can buy and learn and kick the tires. But some official documentation is aka.ms/W365docs. It's just a docs page. We have a tech community, which you can find at W365TC. The feedback side, W365 feedback, is very important because we want to learn from you what you want to have as a feature inside the product. So please go vote on existing feature requests or bring in a new one. We are eager to learn what you want to see in this product. If you want to demonstrate this product to your colleague, to your manager, customer, doesn't really matter. But if you don't want to spin up an environment or don't want to use one of the trial licenses and such, you can just go to aka.ms/W365demo and then show the end user as well as the admin experience into a web view click-through demo. So that's available for everybody. No sign-in process or something like that is happening there. So please go to that and get with the process. And if you want to see the roadmap that I already explained here, but if you want to share it and just keep up in the future, go to W365 roadmap. So that was my presentation. I hope that inspired you and gave you the insights that you were looking for during this presentation. And yeah, let me know if you want to see something, have feedback, or yeah, something else. So thanks all for joining, and I hope to see you somewhere else.
Thanks so much, Christian. That was awesome. Have you got any time for questions, Christian, or do you need to shoot off?
No, I have. I get a little bit.
The chat window's been on fire, and lots and lots of questions. So we might get it back again.
Is it about my shirt? I hope everybody likes that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So quite a lot of questions around. I mean, you probably get asked it all the time. You'll be asked to hear your answer because I've never actually heard your answer either. What's your kind of opinion around sort of whole AVD versus Windows 365 thing? Do you see it as a different product, or how do you see that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, so first of all, AVD or Windows 365, it's not replacing one of the other. So that's something I want to get clearance on. One thing we address is like the full market. Like we don't address VDI only. We address like just a single user that currently uses a physical PC, wants to like work remotely in a simple manner, and wants to use like remoting technology for that. That's kind of the audience we approach, and we approach as well the audience of physical PC management, IT admins, Windows administrators, and potentially as well IT admins, VDI admins that are looking for simplicity environment. If you need more like capabilities in terms of, hey, I want to store my profiles on Azure Files with FS Logics, multi-user is my approach. That's my strategy. We don't support multi-user. We support only single session, but we believe that single session is the future. VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure, is basically a virtual desktop. It's a persistent machine most of the times. So that comparison is a little bit similar, where multi-session is more non-persistent, where you log off or cannot install an application and things like that. It has been rather costly in the past to do that from a licensing perspective, and therefore in the virtualization space, that was not common because multi-session is cheaper because you share the resource and things like that. But bringing technology like this in market, like price is not always the most important thing. It is as well the simplicity and the workaround that you save or can make better or can consolidate with other products. That is like more aligning with the digital transformation moving forward. So answering the question, what is the difference? I think the best answer to that is where you are in the journey today, what best aligns with your needs. So Azure Virtual Desktop has almost everything you need in terms of Azure services. So if you want to use this Azure service and integrate that into an Azure Virtual Desktop environment, you can easily do that. With Windows 365, we integrate completely with the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center components. So that's all pre-baked, all ready for you. So it's more like a SaaS experience where Azure Virtual Desktop is more a PaaS experience. That is like AVD is one part of the puzzle and combine all the services to make it a solution. But you as an IT admin or a partner need to manage that yourself. And that's kind of the different way of looking at it. So from an end user perspective, yes, you can log on remotely to AVD as well via a web portal. And that looks pretty much the same, except for the UX improvements we made, of course. But it's more where you are as a customer, where your strategy and your vision is and what aligns best. And that determines perhaps if you want to go for Windows 365 Cloud PC as well as for AVD. You can like use them together as well if you want to. So if you are an AVD and you want to kick the tires with Windows 365 and get familiar, you can as well just create a Cloud PC and use them side by side and just get familiar with it. You can even connect to Cloud PC and use remote apps on the side if that's a requirement for your organization. So there's a lot of flexibility there. But one thing just to keep the fixed price and as well the simple experience for an IT admin, as well as the consolidation of all the capabilities that you can do for managing a physical PC. Because multi-user is, from a cost perspective, is great, but it doesn't bring you the same capabilities as for a physical PC. And the reason for that is that it is a device solution and not a user-based solution. And that's the main difference why we can needlessly integrate into the Microsoft Endpoint Manager console. So I hope that helps a little bit. But I cannot answer that question completely. It's really where you are as an IT admin, as a business, where you want to be, and then just decide based on a POC what aligns best for your needs.
You can give the consultant's answer. It depends.
Yeah, it's true. It's always it depends. So I only can say that I'm really passionate about this product, and I know like what we are cooking as part of the product, and it's really cool that the integration and the attention and just the alignment across different teams in the organization. It's just amazing. So that's, yeah, it depends where you want to be as a company, where you want to be in the digital transformation. I always say, like, are you still using Exchange Online, or are you still using Exchange on-prem, or are you using Exchange Online? And most of the people then say, yeah, we use Exchange Online. So why did you make that change? Yeah, because of simplicity. It removes like all the kinds of layers as well as all that hardware and stuff. And that's exactly, like, if you look back 7-8 years, in the beginning phase, people were saying, I don't need an Exchange server in the cloud. And that's exactly kind of the shift we will see with Windows in the cloud. Like, we are still early days, but the simplicity that we bring with, for example, the business product, that is as well the principles we will bring into the enterprise product, as you saw with Azure AD native support. So it would become just as easy as enabling Exchange Online to log on to a remoting technology, which is Cloud PC.
Awesome. Has anyone else got any questions for Christiaan before we bring on Sander?
Hi, this is Todd. I can't chat, so can you please come to US Central Iowa with Cloud PC ASAP, so I don't have to build a bunch of stuff in some other places?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually have conversations right now about that region, so hopefully very soon. That's probably the only answer I can give, but it's one of the regions we are currently looking after and one of the first regions to add next. So.
And with regards to the monthly pricing, that's not really true if you're going through an enterprise agreement with a partner, that the sales organizations might start with a few letters. They want you to prepay in advance for all of my Windows 365 machines. So they said, no, you really need to sign a new agreement called a Modern Commerce Agreement, which allows it to be billed on a monthly basis. So for somebody who's on an EA, that we were told we get to write a very large check. Well, that sounds to me more like a capital expenditure, not using a monthly approach.
Yeah, so I'm not a licensing expert, but there are two things there. So we have like two options: WebDirect and Modern Commerce. WebDirect is the solution we introduced during launch. Modern Commerce is where we go to, where you will be able to provide monthly fixed price licenses, meaning that you can remove the license and only pay for that month. What the conversion is for a partner, CSP, and things like that, I'm not familiar with. I need to check that. But the monthly fixed price and giving that after a month away, and the changes there that are coming very soon. If you currently need to sign something and there's you to sign something for a larger amount, then perhaps you need to wait a little bit longer to get the flexibility to purchase licenses just for a month. But it really depends how you want to position and use the Cloud PC environment. So happy to follow up with you offline and see how we can share that insight, because I think your company or your business is under an NDA, so I can perhaps talk a little bit more than one-on-one.
Okay. And then is there any plans in Azure Virtual Desktop for personal that you would add Windows 10 and Windows 11 that has Office 365 baked into it?
You
right
mean
now, I don't
as an
see
image,
that as an image in the gallery. I don't see that as an option. I know in other ones, if it's for pooled, you can choose with or without Office, but everybody, a vast majority of the people are going to get it. So why not just have your OS with it in there? Is there a reason that it isn't on AVD?
I'm not familiar about any plans. I have been hearing about talks about it, but I'm not sure if there ever will be. Maybe you need to just do a feature request for that. One thing you can do is use the Cloud PC image and remove the Cloud PC components out of it, and then use it for AVD. It's a public offering, so you can just use it for AVD as well if you want to. So that's something you can do today. But there's no explicit image for Windows 10 Enterprise with Office because the main focus is around multi-user, as I said earlier, for AVD.
If you get into Iowa, then I wouldn't have to talk about AVD.
So we are in Canada Central.
Yeah, that's not. It's got to be Iowa. So
I will take that feedback and discuss that.
Thank you,
internally.
Christian.
Sounds good. Thanks for your feedback here. Any other questions? Because I think I am taking some time away for the next speaker, so I can stick around for 5 to 10 minutes while the other speaker is just presenting and address the questions in the chat.
Yeah. So any questions in chat? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Christian, thank you so much. Much appreciated. So
thanks for the invite.
No problem.
Thank you all.
Okay. So next one. So Sander, are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there.
Good. So Sander's going to teach us all about deploying AVD using Terraform Cloud. So all yours, Sander.
That's correct. First of all, I have to share my screen. Where's my Teams? Oh, yeah, there he is. Okay. Does everyone see my screen, Jan? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
May just want to, yeah, you've got your Teams notifications, so just close that down. Otherwise, they're going to come up. But yeah, all good now.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, let's start with my session about automating AVD with Terraform Cloud. Well, my name is Sander Rozemuller. I'm from the Netherlands. Thanks for having me at first place. So I'm very glad to see some of you guys, and well, I'm enjoying this session, of course. For me, it's great to show how to start. To show you how to start with automation in relation to Azure Virtual Desktop and Terraform and GitHub. For me, it's also a very new part. So also for me, I had some struggles to get it running, but I finally did it. So I'd like to show you how I did it, and well, maybe I'm going to inspire you a bit of that. I'm working for a company called Unica ICT Solutions. It's in the east of the Netherlands. I'm working as a cloud developer in the Azure Competence Center. Yes, of course, with a main focus on automation in the broadest sense of the word. Also, of course, I'm building some scripts, complete automation sequences, and also I'm designing some designing and optimizing our IT services which we are providing to our customers. So yeah, that's a very random job. Next to my work, I'm also writing blogs about automation, of course, with AVD, also Microsoft Endpoint Management, and also I'm making sometimes some side steps to with PowerShell monitoring, that kind of stuff. I'm one of the guys behind the Dutch AVD User Group, and also I'm one of the guys of the global AVD User Group, together with Neil and some other guys. Just like Sebas, I also became an MVP just past September, so I'm very happy with that. And well, if you like to contact me, you can find me on Twitter and that kind of stuff. I clicked a bit too early. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, my blog on rozemuller.com. So feel free to take a look and contact me. About this session. I I decided to split up this session into 6 main parts. The main idea is to show one slide with all the components we are using at that part, and just to clarify it up. And after every part, I will show you a little demo about how I configured it, where you can find the parts, how they are connected to each other, that parts. In the first part, I will show you a little overview about the whole situation, what components we are dealing with. Second part is the Terraform Cloud overview. So what do we need into the Terraform Cloud? Third part is about authentication. So how do we authenticate to Azure? Third, initial starting image. So I like to start with a brand new empty image, and from that point I'm creating a new image with all the application in it, but that's outside the scope of this session. Almost latest part is the deployment of Azure Virtual Desktop itself, and the last part, it's in the same deployment, but I like to point it out. It's the AVD session host deployment. A bit of a starting line. Where do we begin? Well, AVD, Azure Virtual Desktop. I think it don't need any more introduction than that. It's a complete desktop virtualization service based on Azure. Well, Terraform Cloud, maybe it's a bit new for you. It's also new for me. So I haven't worked with Terraform yet in the past. So I have to find out a lot of things, how it works, etc. So yeah, it's quite learning. It's very steep. So well, still learning on that. What is Terraform Cloud? It's an infrastructure as a code platform, but then in the cloud, not on-prem. So it's not using the CLI. It's yeah, it's the cloud platform where you can put some scripts in it, and that's it. But it's only deploying an infrastructure. So all other scripts you have to figure it out somewhere else. That's the reason why I'm using GitHub. It's a place where I store the code and also my actions. My main start is deploying an AVD environment based on an empty gallery image with Terraform Cloud and GitHub. So at the end, we have an AVD environment with an initial image which is empty, and from there we can go further. Okay, the background. As I mentioned, we have in the middle our Terraform Cloud. Maybe I can create a laser point or something. Yep. In the middle we have the Terraform Cloud. That's, well, it's our engine. It's doing all the hard stuff for us. At the right we have some PowerShell, which I use to trigger the workspaces which are in the Terraform Cloud environment. I will explain later why I'm doing that way. Terraform Cloud depends on exists of workspaces, and within the workspaces we need some code, and the code is stored in my case in GitHub. So that's the other part. In the bottom we have the Azure part, and that's the Azure AD, of course, where we need to create an app registration with the correct permissions, and with all these parts are making sure we can connect to an Azure subscription and deploy those resources. Then the last part, that's the file structure. It's good to know which files you need, how they are called, and why they are for. That's the reason I'm pointing to them right now, because later on you will see those files, and then you can see where they are used for. I called it now very general because it's most clear to all. We had a .tf files, two files of them, one with the resources in it, so which resources we are going to deploy. The other file is the variables file. That's the file where all the variables are declared. So the resources file depends on the variables, and well, they're working together. And at last we have the values file. It's the auto.tf vars file extension, and that's the only file we need to change, so we can deploy a new environment based on these values. Okay, the Terraform Cloud. That's the point where we are starting. What we are going to do now is I'm going to show you after this slide the Terraform Cloud. Within that cloud, I have created two workspaces. One is called TF Image, and one is the TF AVD. Both workspaces depends on some environment variables, which is the tenant ID, subscription ID, and the client and secret ID, values from the application registration I've made. With these parameters, Terraform is able to log into Azure and do some things. Above that, those workspaces depends on GitHub. So I'm going to show you how to create a workspace based on a GitHub repository, and from that point we're going further. So I'm going to show this part. This is the Terraform Cloud environment. As you can see, there are some errors still in the environment, but this afternoon it was working fine for me. All those last two workspaces. What I did from the beginning is log into the Terraform Cloud with this URL app.terraform.io, and after logging in, you are having a brand new clean environment, and the first thing you need to do is creating an organization. Well, I've called an organization like Rozemuller, and from that point you are able to create workspaces, and that's what I'm going to do now. And the first part is choosing which type of workspace you like. Well, in this particular situation, I'm using version control, and that's the point where GitHub came up. We also have other options like Bitbucket and Azure DevOps, but for me it was a good challenge to use GitHub instead of Azure DevOps, which I normally do. Well, connecting to oh, it's the wrong button. Connected to GitHub, then it will crawl to every repository you have in your own GitHub account. So I'm selecting the one which is storing my information. So I created a TF image repository, and from that point I'm creating a workspace. Oh. And there it is. And what she's doing now is she's searching for configuration files. That's the point I will show you later. He was searching for the .tf files with resources in it, with the variables in it, and if you have an auto.opened tf value file, then you also pick up that one. As I showed in the presentation slide, you also have to set up some environment variables. This can be configured within the workspace. And go to the variable location, and then you can add some environment variables. Well, a test with a value test. If you save it, then you will see the key and the value. Well, of course, it's sometimes a secret, so this is very secret. Then you have to click on the sensitive button and then save variable, and it's sensitive. There's no option to see this value again, so if you want to change it, or if you didn't know what you have filled in there, probably you have to start over with, or you have to remove this one and creating a new one with the value, you know which one is it. So if you click edit, you only can change the value, but there's no other value to see. So that's the point where I struggled in the first place, because I configured all these values as sensitive till the moment I changed the app registration and I didn't know which app was connected to which workspace, so it wasn't very good for me. So what I did in the existing, I will go back to the existing workspaces and I will show you. I will go to the demo. What I did over here is storing all the variables this way, and only the client ID I kept in plain text. So now I know which app registration is connected to which workspace. Within the configuration files, you need environment variables, and the environment variables must have a predefined key, because Terraform will look to that. Will look when the configuration is starting. It will look into the environment variables and searching for variables you already know. And for Azure, you have to create these key names. It's it's just how Terraform works. So if you call these environment variables like this and then put a value in it, then Terraform on the back end in the configuration files will notice this one, so you can use it. So that's the part about the Terraform Cloud overview. So what we have is an organization. We have some workspaces, and those workspaces are connected to a GitHub repository. And we have stored the variables from the app registration. That's part one of the Terraform Cloud. So I'm going back to my presentation. So what you have seen is the GitHub repositories. Maybe good to see, to show is the file structure. Sorry for that, but I'm heading back to my GitHub environment. Well, this is the TF image repository. Over there, of course, readme file, but and some PowerShell scripts, which I will mention later. These are the files which I mean in this step. The first file is the initial minvm.tf. This is the configuration file. So this is the file where we say you need the Azure RM provider. Well, this is the provider. So this is the place where you can configure that provider. If you don't use those environment variables, so if I go back to variables, if you don't fill in these ones, then you have to store these values in displays. So this provider is searching for keys with a value called IRM_client_ID, and that's is the point where he picked them up. So if you are, well, from security perspective, you don't want to use IDs and passwords and that kind of stuff in text files. So that's the point where I'm using variables. So you can leave this empty. Well, in this file, you see different kind of resources. We're creating a resource group, we're creating a VNet, we're creating a default subnet, etc., etc. This is the initial VM part, so it's only a network and a VM. And I'm using an image reference, which I'll show you in the value of the variable values file. As you can see, I'm looking for a variable called rg_name and rg_location. Well, from basics, you don't know these variable names, so we have to declare them in some kind of file. That's the reason why I created initial VM variables file. And this is the point where I declare the variables. So there's the rg_name, it's a type of string, so it accepts textual, text. We also have numbers and objects and lists, so you can provide more values at once. Well, and the kind of in the description, which is fine. And the last part is the value file, and this is the file which is the most dynamic file, because if you like to deploy in a whole new environment and a whole different subscription and a whole other tenant, then you can pick up all these files. You can create a new workspace. You provide there the new system variables, so a new tenant ID, new client ID, new secret, in the subscription. You will pick up these files, and only thing you have to do is to change these values if you like. And that's the part about the Terraform Cloud. Next is the authentication to Azure, which I would like to show you. What we are going to do is creating an app registration, automated of course. I'm doing this with the minimal permissions. The reason not the minimal permissions, of course, because security is number one, but the application needs some API permissions, and let me explain why. The Terraform environment which I'm building, I also want to deploy and assign users or groups to a workspace, for example. So we have, at the end, we have an Azure Virtual Desktop environment, and we have deployed the app group and the workspace. Then I want to assign the all user group, for this case, to that application. And to do that, I'm telling Terraform to look for an Azure AD group called all users. And for that particular step, we need at least a group read all or a directory read all permissions for the API, because Terraform is using the Azure API to crawl for the object ID for that user group. Also, I'm creating a custom AD rule. The custom AD role is because of also the assignment for groups to a resource group, to the application group for AVD. And the only role in Azure with authentication and write permissions is the owner role. Well, I don't want to be an app acting like a tenant owner, so What I did is I copied the contributor role and I stripped out the right permissions for that. Maybe other security guys are I pointing a gun at me because of a security breach or something, but from at this point I think it was the most secure way. So that's the other thing we are going to do. And at last, we are grabbing the environment variables, which I showed you in the previous step in the workspace configuration. In the practical way, so if you're following the whole process, you probably first want to create an app registration, and after that the workspace, of course, because now we have to fill in variables we don't have yet. So yes, then I go back to my VS Code. I put them in light mode, so I hope everyone can read it. What I did at the first place is I'm an automation guy, of course, and I really love writing functions. It's almost an addict, but if I need to use code more than once, then I'm most of the time writing a function for that. So I also did for the app creation. So I've created a lot of functions which are helping me creating an application, creating a service principal, creating an app password, assign the correct permissions to the app registration, admin consent, and that kind of stuff. So for me, the most of the time is the function creation, but after the functions are created, it's an app registration created within seconds. So that's what I'm going to do now. First of all, I'm going to decide what permissions I need. I will spare you the details about finding the correct IDs because it's really a hell of a job sometimes. But believe me, these are the IDs which you need. This is the ID of the Graph API. So what I particularly do is I'm looking for the Graph API service principal, and within that principal, I'm looking for the group read all permissions, and I'm assigning it to a role. You have a role and a scope definements, how to say. We'll show you in the portal later. And you have different types of permissions. You have your delegated permissions, and you have the application permissions. And if you have the scope type, then you have the delegated permissions, which are not enough for Terraform to grab the correct group in the deployment strategy. So we need to set a role. What I first need to do is grabbing some tokens from out of Azure. And then I'm going to start with creating an app registration. I'm creating an app registration UK UG min Terraform, that's the application call. And I'm creating an application password for it. First, I'm going to create a new app in the first place. So I'm running that one. And it's done. So when heading back to the portal, I'm going to my app registration part. And believe it or not, most of the time I'm faster than the API with clicking. Oh, we have to refresh the whole page. And there it is. So I've created an app within a few seconds without any secrets yet and without any permissions yet. So that's the next step we are going to do. What I most of the time do is when I'm executing commands, I'm storing them into a variable. And that's really a lifesaver because of within the new app variable, it stores all the information about the just created app. So from that point, I'm able to do anything with it. So I created a function which is called add application permissions, and based on the app ID which I like to assign permissions to, I'm providing the just created app ID and the permissions which are stored in this place. If you like to add more permissions than only group read all, but also directory and directory read write, probably you just can create a new list over here and provide the correct parameters, and then you go. So I'm creating the app permissions pretty fast. And that way. Page again. And there the permissions are. Group read all, this application type, what I mentioned, so not the delegated. Well, next part we are, what we need to do is to granting them for access. So I created also a function for that. And now I've assigned an app role to the application. So I'm heading back to the portal again. 5 button. Oh, I'm too fast. Portal magic. Well, then in the meantime, I will also creating a new application password and a service principal for that. That's the part I forgot. So we are creating an application password, which is the secret we need later. And I'm creating a service principal from the just created app to give them permissions into the Active Directory. And now we are able to assign the correct role to it. So that was a bit messy, but for now we have a secret created and the permissions are set. So that's fine. So in fact, we have created an app with, and well, if you just hit the F after I've run the script again, it's a matter of seconds, and we have created a whole new app with the correct permissions, etc. At this time, I won't create a new Azure AD role, but I will try to explain what I'm doing here. What I do is I'm searching for the contributor role, which is built in by Microsoft. So it's a fixed ID. This is the ID which is the same at every tenant. So that's very easy. Then I'm looking for that particular role, and well, if I find that role, then you will see. I think I still have on the bottom. Yeah. I will show you for my list. Okay. What every role has is you have actions and you have not actions, and you can compare it with NTFS permissions, where actions is just the permissions you have. So for a contributor in this situation, it has all the permissions except the not actions. That's the deny role, and there I don't have permissions to delete authorization, to write authorization, and some other few things. What I do over here is I'm removing this role, so I'm So by deleting this role, I do have write permissions, and that's nice because I need to deploy from Terraform. So I called it a contributor plus role, and that's the role which I'm going to assign to my application into at subscription level. I will show you in the portal later. And well, this is the point where the whole assignment is taking place. And at the end, I'm having the output for the variables. I'm not running here because then everybody has my secret. So heading back to the portal, and you will see the assignment. I'm going to subscription. I've created a application this afternoon. Oh, takes some while. I've created a UK MinUG Terraform application this afternoon. And well, I assigned it to the contributor plus role. So this will make the application able to deploy things and also assign permissions to the resource group for user login, which is needed for Azure AD join, and the application for all users, which is needed to log in at the first place. So I hope it's all a bit clear to you. Okay. The next point is the creation of the initial starting image. This is an empty image based on a Windows 11 image from the Azure Marketplace. What I'm going to do over here is I have a workspace created, what you have seen, the TF min image workspace based on the GitHub source. And that's the only thing I did in Terraform Cloud. Because it has some reasons. The reason why I'm going back to PowerShell is because I have to do more than just hitting the button in Terraform and wait for a VM. Because also in AVD we need to sysprep a virtual machine and generalize it. So what I do is I've created a workspace in Terraform. That's it. And then I'm heading back to PowerShell, and from there I'm triggering the workspace. I will show you later how I did that. When the workspace is ready, then the next step, so that's the create VM part. The next step is to sysprep the machine directly. There's without any user contact, logging in, that kind of things. After the sysprep is done, then it will generalize the image to a general image version, and that's the point where I leave that VM. Later, in the next step for AVD deployment, this VM will be picked up by the Terraform configuration to create an image version from that. So heading back to the portal. What I did is I've created a PowerShell file for triggering Terraform workspaces. And to do that, we have two things at least needed to trigger a workspace. It's the workspace ID and it's a token. I also created a trigger message so I can see what the message is, the display name for the the run in Azure of a Terraform. So could be easy, or could be useful to have the message. And later on, I also need this the destroy property. Default is false, of course, because we don't want to destroy things, but in some particular situations, we need to destroy the environment. So that's the thing I also accept in the script. And then I'm using the API of Terraform, and I'm triggering that workspace. So I go back to the Terraform Cloud. First place, we need to create a token. That's on the user settings and then tokens. And then you can create an API token. It's just a string with 200 characters or something, and then that's the only thing you need about the token part. It also accepts the plain text, so you don't have to create a secret or something in PowerShell. No, that's not needed. So that's the first thing we need, and the other thing we need is the workspace ID, and the ID is easy find. It's in the general settings, so that's this one. So when I trigger that, when I running a PowerShell script with and I provide the token and this thing, then it will start this image. I can show you that later after I've shown the rest of the demo. After the trigger is ready, the trigger is I also created a loop for checking what's happening over at the background, and the script returns stops when it's all applied. So that's for me the trigger to go further with the rest. And then I'm using native PowerShell to run commands with a sysprep PowerShell in it, and then it's going to sysprep the machine. And after the sysprep is done, I'm setting the VM to a generalized state. So that's not that hard. So when we have now we have a Terraform workspace triggered. In the first place, it's creating a VM, it's sysprepping after the VM is created, and then at last it will generalize it. Second of the last step in this whole sequence, no, almost the last step, is creating the AVD deployment itself. I try to draw what is exactly happening over here to make it clear for all of us, also for me. What I've shown, I've created a workspace tadmin AVD. Also has the environment variables, which are stored in the other workspace, which is stored later also for my GitHub action. So that makes it easy. And what this workspace is doing is logging into the Azure subscription, of course. It will deploy a VNet. It will deploy a shared image Azure Compute Gallery since past Friday. It will pick up the VM, which I have created in a previous step, and it will create an image from that. Next is creating a log analytics workspace for diagnostics, etc. Then it will deploying the AVD environment itself. Within that deployment, I'm also deploying the session hosts. I will point to session hosts later. Next, after all this deployment of resources, it will assign the roles to the correct resources. So the desktop virtualization user is the role which our users are getting when users are assigned to an application in AVD. And when using a Azure AD join, you also need to assign assign the virtual machine user login role to the machines, to the users which are needed to log into that. And based on the extension values, I'm also configuring a Microsoft Endpoint Manager join, so the machines are also joining Microsoft Endpoint Manager. That's in a nutshell what the resource deployment is doing. I will show you the deployment of that. I really had some issues today with Terraform, so it's errored a lot, but I also have successful with this one, so I will click to that one. What Terraform Cloud is doing in the first place is when I trigger the workspace, it's it's sort of a compiling process which Terraform is doing to check if everything is right in my deployment code. So it's checking if there is if there is a workspace or not, checking if there is already a session host or not, and that kind of stuff. After it's planned successful, then I'm able to apply it to an Azure subscription. So that's the part which you see over here. It's creating a log analytics workspace. It's creating diagnostic settings based on that workspace. It's creating a network interface cards for the session hosts, etc., etc. It's creating the extensions, and this is I think it's a really nice overview of what is going on over here. When the workspace is running, you can also see which is created, which is not created, which is changed, which is updated, which is deleted, that kind of things. So it's pretty clear what's going on over here. And at the end, of course, we have a Azure Virtual Desktop environment. I'm heading back to my presentation. Well, maybe not. I'm going to show you how the syntax is working based on Terraform AVD. As you can see over here, I also have a deploy AVD Terraform file, a declaration of the variables of AVD and the variable values. So these are the values I use today. I'm looking for the all user group. I'm deploying 2 session hosts with the prefix AVD. It's a workspace name, etc., etc. But what is nice, what is good to see is this one. I will show you an example about using and reusing output within Terraform. In the first place, I'm using some in-place modules of Terraform. I'm using the random integer and the random string. What I'm using this for is for a log analytics workspace, because it's have to be a unique workspace name. So what I do is I've created a prefix in the configuration files, and after that prefix I'm also using a random number between 1 and 50,000, and that together will make the log analytics workspace name. I'm also doing that for a string. The string is used for creating a password. When the resource string is deployed, you will see you also see the outcome of that value into the Terraform portal. So from that point you can pick that up. I will show you this example. What I do is, in the first place, I'm creating a resource group, of course. I call that RG min AVD. That's the name of the module. So this is the Terraform module, and this is the name, this unique name in my configuration. And that's also the point which I'm referring always. Because in this part, for example, I'm creating a VNet. Yeah, okay, it's a VNet name, it's in variables, and I also have an address space from the variables, but the location, for example, is the same location as the resource group, which I'm deploying in it. And also the resource group name. So what I'm doing over here is I'm looking for the Azure RM resource group module with the name RG min AVD, and then I'm picking up the name. So I don't have to fill in every time the name of the resource group or the variable for the resource group. And that's also the thing I use for Log Analytics Workspace, for example. This is the place where I'm using a variable for the prefix, which is in the variable file, of course, of a value file. And then I'm creating a random integer, and I'm using the result from that, the randomizing as the last part of the name. And that outcome, so the RM Log Analytics Workspace with LOAS as name, I'm using a bit lower to set up the diagnostic settings. So I'm creating a diagnostics AVD minus diagnostics, and I'm looking for the output of the host pool name of the host pool ID, which is created a step above. And I'm also looking for the Log Analytics Workspace with LOAS, and then I'm using the ID to connect them together. Well, in this situation, I'm setting up error, only the error logging, that's it. So that's the part of Azure Virtual Desktop deployment. I also want to show you, now we are here, the deployment of the session hosts. As I have shown in the variable file, going back to the variables, then I have configured, I want to set up 2 session hosts. So I have to loop somewhere to create 2 session hosts. And that's the point where Terraform is helping me. Going back to the deployment. Heading back to on. And over here, I'm creating a network interface card, and later on, I'm creating a session host itself. So in the first place, I'm creating a NIC, which is used later in the creation of the session host to create a network, of course. So in the first place, I'm using a NIC, and this is the point where I'm using the counters. So I'm counting 2 times because it's the variable which is set to 2 this time. And what this thing is doing is running 2 times, and I'm using the index of the counter, so 0, 1, 2, to give it the name. And that's also the name for my session host. So I'm using the prefix and also using the count index to create the AVD 1, AVD 2, etc., etc. I'm also only able to deploy a session host when a network interface card is deployed. So you probably know from DevOps and also GitHub, there is a depends on option. So I'm telling you this, it's depending on the network interface card. So what's it doing in the Terraform deployment is it's creating first all the network cards, and from that point it's creating all the session hosts. And because I'm using the counter, they always have the same name. So I have a NIC 1 and a NIC 2 and a NIC 3, etc., etc. And because of that, I'm automating that part. It always fits together. well, as you can see, I'm here for the admin password. I'm creating a random string. So I'm not using a plain password or something. It's just for that VM and that's it. I'm creating a system assigned identity because it's needed for the Azure AD join. And from there, I'm also picking up the SIG version ID, which is created from the VM we created in previous steps. And then the last part is creating the is setting up the extensions. First place, I'm creating the AD login for Windows extension. So I'm using the name. This is not a fixed name. You can choose anything you want. This is a fixed name. This type. So I'm used to it to keep them the same. And then I'm also using the virtual machine ID, also with a counter, because it also has the same counter. So it's always 1, 2, 3, and that's the reason they always fit together. I'm using the settings for joining to MEM. And the last extension, also with a counter. Yes, it's depending on any session host, and it's depending on the Azure AD join, because I don't want to have machines which are not joined to an Azure AD or AD at all before they're joining to Azure Virtual Desktop. And then I'm using other values for creating for assigning the extension. When you want to use the Azure AD join, you have to use a different module, AVD module, than for the native AD join. So I figured it out somewhere at a place at the back end of the portal. So I haven't seen this documented yet. And at last, this is the thing what I struggled with in the beginning, because it is not needed in deploying with PowerShell or with CLI or something, but for this situation, I had the registration token set as a protected setting. Don't know why it's this different because instead of the rest, but well, we have to deal with it. At last, I'm looking for the AD groups. This is the AD group all users, which I configured in the variable file. And well, I'm looking for the virtual machine user login. These are other type of modules than the resource module. A resource module is a deployment of a resource, and data is just crawling from some data which you can use to deploy the rest of the sequence. Well, I also did for the desktop virtualization user, and this is the part where I need the API permissions, and I also need the contributor plus role. If you don't want to automatically assign users to the correct groups, etc., then you don't need the permissions, and then only an app registration which has contributor permissions to the subscription is enough. Okay, a lot of text, but I hope you still understand. And going to the last part, I must say I have added this today because I was a bit triggered by some comments from out of the community, and they asked me why I didn't use Packer for creation of an image. Well, first reason is I'm a bit lazy, so I hadn't the time to create a whole Packer environment. Second, my main goal was to use only the Terraform Cloud. I must say, Packer is now also as a beta available in the cloud. So I asked to join the beta test, and I accepted for that. So I hope I can use that within a short time. And then I also have a cloud Packer environment to create also packages and new images. But beside that, I also was triggered because, yeah, I'm an automation guy, so I don't want to run a workspace, wait for a few minutes, grab some coffee, and then go back, and then running the sysprep script, and then running the other workspace. So I decided to create a GitHub action today. And I must say, I haven't worked with it yet, so I was pretty surprised how easy it was. It's almost the same as Azure DevOps, so it's with some reading some documentation. You have, well, if you're used to use it to use Azure DevOps or YAML, then GitHub is really easy. So what I did in the GitHub action, and this is also the part where the destroy flag is coming up, I created a GitHub action also with the same parameters. And what I did is I created, the first step is triggering the workspace, so the TF image workspace. I write the loop to check if it's finished yet or not. If it's finished, then I'm running the sysprep and the generalized task with PowerShell. After it's generalized, I'm also getting a status message back. Then I'm also next automatically triggering the AVD workspace. After the workspace is finished, then I'm going back to the first workspace again, and then I'm going to add a flag with the destroy parameter. And what I'm doing over there is cleaning up the old resource group with the old image for old VM with the sysprep VM in it and the disk, etc., because we can't use it anymore. And it is an image version from now, so it's not needed. So I'm also cleaning up the whole stuff. So I'm going back to GitHub. I'll use this one. I need to select the correct repository. When you are creating an action, it will also create a workflow folder in it, and it will create a YAML file. So first, let's look at plain text. In the first step, you will see I'm triggering with the PowerShell based on a workspace ID and a token, which is a system variable, of course. And I'm triggering, I'm providing a message for that. So this is the point where I trigger the first create initial image workspace. After the task is done, then I'm going to the next step. First, I need to log in, of course. And then I'm creating, I'm using this PowerShell, which is searching for the VM. And well, it's running the sysprep command, and then it's waiting till it's stopped totally, and then it's generalizing it. And then the next step is building AVD. As you can see, it's a bit different name, but this depends on. So it needs the build VM job, and it needs the prep VM job. I'm reusing the Terraform trigger PowerShell command, of a PowerShell file, of course. Auto workspace ID, the rest is the same. And at last, when it's finished, I'm triggering again with this file with the image workspace ID, of course, and then I'm saying to them, destroy is true, and then it's destroying my whole environment, which is deployed from within that workspace. So that's the part. That's the code, which is to the action. And over there, well, it really looks like DevOps. It's this are representing the jobs, of course. I think this is DevOps. I was not able to get some information, but well, in this part you can see what is happening over here. It's running. It's creating or it's running the invoke run command, which is succeeded. It waits for until the VM is stopped, and then it's sending a last message to its to generalize the VM, and then it's finished. Well, then next is building the AVD environment, which is also a trigger. I created a loop to determine what's the status. Till it's totally applied, well, it's a long list, but at the end, finally, it's applied. I created now a loop with a little sleep because I was banged by Terraform, so it kicked me out because of too lot of API calls, I think. So, but finally it's applied. Well, it's applied, then the script will stop, and then at the last step it will destroy the whole environment till it's finally done. And then we all have green marks. So that's the part about GitHub Actions. I'm really excited about it because it's easiness and well, I was on the Ignite party in the Netherlands begin this week, and some people noticed in DevOps in the Ignite sessions there was a lot of GitHub, but almost no DevOps at the development part. So there were questions, of course, where is Azure DevOps besides GitHub? And well, there was a guy of Microsoft over there, and he told, well, GitHub is not, or DevOps is not out of support, of course. It will maybe be supported by a year or 10 or something, but there could be it could be a time that GitHub is getting the newest features first, and then DevOps. So that's also made me thinking about maybe it's time to also look at DevOps, also look at GitHub and Actions. Well, I think it's transforming from DevOps to GitHub isn't that hard, I think. So all things good. Well, at last, because I'm almost from my slides, I promised to show how to start a Terraform API. So it's asking for a workspace ID. Then I'm heading back on my other screen. Gerald. Copy it. And the token. Isn't there anymore? It's a pity. And I'm creating a new one. And there he goes. It's planning over now. So when heading back to the cloud, going to the UK demo runs, image, and there it is. And that's the trick what I'm doing from out of GitHub Action. So it's quite easy. So back to my slide again. Well, that's it for now. I think it's way off time. Sorry for that. Well, some useful links. Of course, Terraform Cloud. Documentation, which is very useful. I can imagine there's a lot of text and a lot of images and a lot of, I don't know where to start from now. Please check my cocktail. I also have a cocktail for the Terraform part, which I show you today. So you can read from a lazy chair again what is happening over here. And well, if you have any questions beside that, please let me know and we'll take a look at what we can do for that. Okay, thank you. It was a really pleasure to show you what is keeping me busy all day. And well, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Sander. Much appreciated. And I think there's been a lot of love in the presentation for your little man with the English flag on it. Quite a few people commenting on that, so that's awesome. Has anyone got any questions for Sander? No? All good. Well, I think we're ready to call it a night. Thanks for everyone for coming. Thanks. So Shabazz, how was your first meeting?
Very good. Took me back to when I had my first session on the first AVD User Group. It was good. Two really good presentations. Good interaction as well in the chat.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to December. If I'm honest with you, it'll be great being in person and having some good sessions. But we won't give too much away quite yet. What we've got planned. No, thank you for inviting me to be part of the team.
It's a pleasure, mate. I think you're perfect fit. So
thank you.
Awesome. Well.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks, Sander.
Bye-bye. Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Has anyone got anything else they want to talk about before we call it night?
All good. Thank you once again, guys.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll hopefully see some of you in person soon. Next month at Shabazz's house. She's kindly invited us to stay at his house for the night, by the way. So bring your sleeping bags. He's providing food, beer, everything.
Okay, guys, have a good one.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers. See ya.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.